Today we are going to be introducing two new products to the market. We'll be talking about the new Digimar 817 CLT Height Gauge and Millimess Digital Comparators. So I will be your presentation. My name is Brendan Markham. I am the product manager of Precision Gauges here at Mahr Corporate. I will be your presenter today. Just a quick little notes before we get into the thing. The attendees will be muted until the very end of the presentation, where we'll have a brief question and answer session. So please save all of your questions for that time. If you do have something urgent, there is a chat feature. There is a chat feature that I can see here, and I will be able to, if you type something in, I will keep an eye on it. But okay, kicking things right off, we are going to be talking about the new Millimess 2000 and 2001 W indicators and the new Digimar 817 CLT height gauges. And again, we're going to have a very brief question and answer section at the end of the presentation. So, available this December 2022, Mahr will be introducing to the market two new indicators, digital comparators, the Millimess 2000 and 2001. Features and highlights of this is it's going to be a very, very high accurate gauge. It's going to have a base error of 0.4 microns. The internal movement itself is a very, very tough, long-lasting ball bearing design designed to eliminate almost all lateral loads and make for a very repeatable movement of the device itself. The feature that we're most happy to show off, though, is probably going to be the fully sealed touchscreen display. That is, you'll see this in detail earlier, but there are no buttons on this display. It is one solid piece of glass. The 2000 and 2001 W will also have fully integrated tolerance lights. These will be programmable lights that you can use to show in and out of tolerance conditions and no-go conditions. Depending upon the model, the 2000 and 2001 will be able to connect to a computer either wired or wirelessly through a USB, Digimatic, or wireless connection. And another unique feature to the Millimess 2000 and 2001 are the rechargeable permanent battery that is built into the machine, so that you get a little bit more long-term performance out of the gauge. But with that said, let's kick right off to the difference between the 2000 and the 2001 W. So we have two new comparators. We have the 2000 W and the 2000 WI, and then the 2001 W and 2000 WI. The difference between the W and the WI version is the I stands for integrated wireless. So on any model that I will have Mahr's integrated wireless capability and will be able to communicate wirelessly to a computer. The 2000 model itself is for static measurements. So it's designed for simple static measurements such as heights and diameters. It has symbols it has a built-in tolerance function with go, no-go, and warning limit features. It also has 11.5 millimeter tall digits for nice, crisp, easy to read display. The 2001, on the other hand, is going to be a little bit more advanced in that it is capable of and dynamic measurements. By dynamic measurements, I of course mean that the indicator is able to take measurements over time. That is a max, min, or PIR. So the indicator, the comparator, the 2001, will be able to either capture and hold a max value, a min value, or display the difference between the two. So that's going to be more for radial runouts, tracking variations tracking the variations within a part, and it's going to be a very, very and you can see there on the display, it has a built-in scale to show you where you are in your movement of your max minus min, because the digital display will only show the max min or max minus min value when in a dynamic mode. We're also particularly excited about the 2001 because it has those graduations. It will make more traditional machinists and operators comfortable because they're still able to read their graduations and they don't have to fully rely on the digital display. But by far, what I think is the best feature of the Millimess 2000 and 2001 is its level of accuracy. So the 2000 and 2001 indicators have a base accuracy of 0.4 microns, and they're priced out, and they set a starting price of $925. Typically within the Mahr lineup, to get that level of accuracy, you would need a C12, you would need some sort of a gauging amplifier and a probe. So in this case, if we look at the Mahr C1200 digital gauging amplifier and the P1301 inductive probe, that has a similar base accuracy of 0.5 microns, but if you take a look at the price at $2,205, you can really see the difference between the two. So with the Millimess 2000, 2001, you're really getting gauging amplifier and probe levels of accuracy for roughly half the cost. Now, that accuracy, we get that accuracy because the new Millimess is actually based off of our P1301 probe. That is, it's an LVDT style transducer, and it's a proven technology that's been on the marketing place since the late 80s, early 90s. The only drawback to the LVDT technology is that it is a very, very small measuring range. In the case of the Millimess, it's plus or minus half millimeter for a total of 1 millimeter, but you get that super high level of accuracy. What is also unique about the Millimess, again, is going to be the high precision ball bearing that we put into the spindle. It's going to be a very, very low friction bearing. It has a large number of ball bearings for the amount of surface area, so relative to the amount of surface area, I should say, which means it's going to be both very, very highly sensitive, long-lasting, and robust. So this thing will be able to, the robust design of this ball bearing makes it ideal for heavy manufacturing environments, shop floor environments, anywhere where this gauge has the potential to be used and abused. And one of the other mainlining features that really exemplifies the toughness of this gauge is we have a solid touchscreen display. So if you look on your screen right now, you'll see there are no buttons on this display. Everything is touchscreen, just like your smartphone. It's completely sealed and highly resistant to the intrusion of oils, lubricants, coolants, and solid particulates. The glass is a hybrid style glass, fully tempered, and which is scratch and shock resistant, but yet is still sensitive enough to be used with gloves. So in a heavy manufacturing environment where operators could be wearing gloves to protect them, anti-cut gloves or thermal isolation gloves, they are going to still be able to use this gauge in both very accuracy laboratory style conditions where they might be using rubber gloves for temperature protection, or on a highly oily and dirty environment such as a shop floor, near a honing machine, for example. This toughness is also can be further increased with the optional screen protector and case protector, which again offers an extra level of protection. So we really foresee this Millimess 2000 and 2001 indicator being highly successful in very, very rugged environments or anywhere where high levels of accuracy are called for. If you look on your screen, here where we have our upper row of buttons, you will see 3 little gray bars. Those are going to be our tolerance lights. So if we take another look at this, both the 2000 and 2001 have integrated tolerance lights. Tolerance lights can be set for either a IDOD application or for a height application. So this makes it ideal for plug gauges, OD gauges, bore gauges, any sort of a height span where you're measuring step heights or tracking a run out. But what's really important here is that it has the red light for no-go, green for go, and yellow for rework or warning limits. When the Millimess 2000 and 2001 are running off of internal battery power, when you cross either a tolerance band or a warning limit band, you will get a 1-second yellow flash telling you that you are out near the warning limit or you need to be reworked. Same thing for the green. If you are within tolerance, the green light will flash, and the red light will also flash if you are outside of the tolerance band. When the Millimess 2000 and 2001 are plugged into main power, that is, they are actually plugged into an outlet with a constant battery, with a constant power supply, the lights will permanently stay on, either red, green, or yellow. And that is just a measure to protect the battery life. The Millimess itself, the 2000 and 2001, both the wireless and wired versions have an integrated data port. The integrated data port also doubles as the charging engine. So each Millimess 2000 and 2001, regardless of its being capable for integrated wireless or not, will be sold with, will have the data port and a data cable sold with it so that you can charge the unit. The cable itself this year, the DKU1 is new to Mahr. It is a bi-directional cable, which means it can communicate both. It can communicate not just from the computer, but from not just from the computer to the gauge, but from the gauge to the computer. That will allow us to be able to interface the gauge with MARCOM. It'll also allow MARCOM, which is Mahr's proprietary interface software. It'll allow MARCOM to be able to remotely program this gauge as well. So that way the operator doesn't even necessarily have to use the buttons on the display. You can just simply hook this up to a computer and you can remotely program or set up the gauge. Also available for purchase is a Digimatic cable, DKD1. This will be compatible with all Digimatic devices. However, because of the Digimatic data format, you will not be able to remotely program. You will only be able to transmit data. And the Digimatic cable should be noted that it will not work with the MARCOM software. The MARCOM software is a free software from Mahr. It allows computers to communicate with digital Mahr gauges. It will be able to communicate to the Millimess 2000 and 2001, and it'll facilitate the transfer of measuring data from the gauge to Excel or to a third-party SPC software. It will also give you remote control and programming options, and it'll even give you the option to remotely lock out certain functions from the measuring screen. So that way, when the indicator is on the shop floor being used, no operator inadvertently goes in and changes the settings. Still talking about that data cable. The data cable, again, is used for charging the battery. There on the Millimess 2000 and 2001, there's a battery icon to give you the battery status, how much charge you have left. For mobile measurements, operating time with the integrated battery, the battery can have a total lifespan of up to 1 month on a single charge, and it will charge, and it takes only 12 hours to fully recharge the battery, so that it's designed to be able to be used for 2 to 3 shifts, charge overnight, and then it's good for the next round of shifts. The indicator itself can be plugged into either the USB included power supply. It could also draw power from a PC if it is plugged into a PC or USB hub. It can also be powered by a remote battery pack, similar to the battery packs that you see to charge your cell phone. The Millimess 2000-2001 can be plugged into one of these power packs to extend the life of the battery or to remotely charge the battery of the Millimess when no mains power adapter, no plug is available within the operating area of the gauge. So just as a brief little summation of the Millimess line, we have the 2000 and 2001, the W and the WI. You can see the part numbers and pricing. The 2000 with and without the integrated wireless has a list price of $925, whereas the 2001 will be $1,030. And while, again, that's going to seem very expensive for an indicator, you have to keep in mind the level of accuracy you're getting, plus the range. So again, you have that range of plus or minus 1 millimeter for a total of 2, that base accuracy of plus or minus 0.2 microns for a total of 0.4 microns. And you're also getting probably the most oil and coolant resistant indicator that you can possibly, that is available for purchase in the marketplace. So while it does seem like, yes, that is a large amount of money for an indicator, you are getting a lot of capability for the price you are paying. So if we take a look at how this falls into the marketplace, we can see that the part number, we can see that it is going to be almost in line with prices from our competitors, from Mitutoyo, Spirit, Fowler, and Solatron. Again, you take a look at the range and the measuring accuracy. You can see, again, you're getting very, very high levels of accuracy. You're almost 100 times more accurate than the most accurate indicator on here, unless you're talking about the Solatron, which has the display and the probe. So you're going to be getting very, very high levels of accuracy and robustness for the price. Okay, so that is the conclusion of the Millimess portion of the presentation. I will now, I'm going to open up the chat for a couple of minutes to see if there are any questions or comments. So you are now all unmuted. You should be able to speak if you have something to say, if you have any questions at this time concerning the Millimess. All right, if there are no questions, I'm going to remute the chat and we'll continue on with the presentation, going on to the new Digimar 817 CLT height gauges. So the new 817 CLT will be available in the North American market in December of 2022. It'll be available in 3 sizes, the 350 millimeter, the 600, and the 1000 millimeter. And really the name of the game, the main feature why we're so happy to have this out on the market is it's the new 817 CLT is really designed to be as easy and simple to operate as possible, which as you may know from working in the industry, any type of digital height gauge capable of 2D and perpendicularity measurements historically has very complex interfaces, very complex options. You really need to understand the gauge in order to be able to use it. But however, with Mahr's quick mode and the easy to use interface, it's designed for anyone with very little to no training to be able to walk up to the gauge and able to start taking measurements. The 817 CLT also has an expanded capability for data export compared to the outgoing 817 CLM. And again, it will also be capable of 2D and perpendicularity measurements. I would like to note here that the 816 CL is still available for purchase. The 817 CLT is only replacing the 817 CLM. So if you would like to, if you do not need the 2D or perpendicularity capability that the 817 CLT has to offer, but you do like all the other additional features, the 816 CL is still available and can still be used for those applications. List prices and part numbers. You can see here the 350 millimeter model will be right at $9,000 US list. The 600, which is we anticipate being the most popular model, is going to be $9,800, and the 1,000 millimeter model comes in at $17,050. So there we have I'll give you guys a moment to record those pricings and part numbers, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So we're gonna, again, the main feature that we're so proud of with this new 817 CLT is its new easy to use and programmable interface. So it now has a 10-inch ergonomic touchscreen display. It also has a fully integrated online help menu. And you can also do an quick and easy drag and drop style of program creation. So if you would like to create a measuring program, you do not need to memorize any sort of a programming tree. You don't need to have you don't need to memorize, you don't need to have an ASCII chart. You don't need to have any sort of programming background or capability in order to set this up. If you can click and drag an icon and remember a sequence, you will be able to set up custom programs in the 817 CLT. The online integrated help is also very, very good. You simply just press the question mark on the side of the display, hit whatever icon you have a question about, and it will automatically bring up the relevant integrated online help menu for whatever feature you may have a question on. The other feature that makes the 817 CLT so quick and painless to use is the quick mode, made for easy NUS measurements. But the way quick mode works is when quick mode is enabled, you can simply drive down you can either drive the probe carriage up or down, and the 817 will take over, and it will continue to drive the probe carriage up or down until it comes into contact with the part you're trying to measure, and then it'll give you a result. You also have the ability to use integrated touch buttons on the side of the 817. These, you have the up and down measurement buttons, so that way if you just bring your part close over to the 817, you can hit that down arrow or that up arrow, and it'll simply either go up or down to make a measurement in the up or down direction. There's also a button to toggle in between simple bore and height measurements, and an incremental thumb wheel for driving the probe carriage up or down, and that thumb wheel is incremental, meaning that the further you push it up or further you push it down, the faster or slower the probe carriage will move in the up or down direction. We find that a lot of operators on the shop floor particularly like hand dials, hand cranks on their height gauges. We find that the incremental thumb wheel and the measuring buttons on the side, in addition to the quick mode, more than make up for the lack of an integrated a hand wheel, hand crank on the 817. It gives the operators the same level of control, and we've had very, very good feedback from these two features so far. The next thing we're going to talk about here will be the new data export options. So the 817 CLT is capable of generating its own measuring reports. These can be either in a PDF or text file formats. The PDF, you can see a couple of the sample reports on your screen where the reports will be listed where the reports will list each and every single individual measurement. It will show them as in or out of tolerance and nominal values if those are programmed into the gauge. And it will put them all on a nice PDF report that is also editable. So on the PDF report, you can change and edit the header and footer information to match your company information. You can even put your company logo, address, operator name, date and time stamp. So you will be able to change the header and footer information to match whatever formats the customer or the end user requires. Individual readings can be sent either through a wired or wirelessly through the Marcom software. So that means we can send individual data points directly to a computer, either using a wired or wireless connection. Again, Marcom software is completely free. You can download it from the Mahr site at www.mahr.com/Marcom. And Marcom will be very quickly and easily able to pass off the measuring data and information from the 817 CLT either to an Excel spreadsheet, out through a third-party software via a COM port, or to another third-party software via a keyboard wedge style emulator. New to the 817 CLT is an optional Bluetooth printer. So you also have the options of where it will automatically print out every single data point you make, and you can quickly and easily tear off that printed report, stick it with the material as it gets passed along. This is really ideal for receiving or outgoing inspection, where you simply need to just attach a report of the measurements you're taking real quick, and pass it along down the line as the material goes through its regular operations or as it gets shipped out the door. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, the 817 CLT is capable of perpendicularity and 2D measurements. It is able to interface with the new Millimess indicator to easily make and quantify perpendicularity measurements. It can also work with Mahr's cheaper 1086 and 1087 digital indicators in case the customer or end user doesn't require that level of accuracy of the Millimess. It is a very, very high level of accuracy where it uses a USB 3.1 connection and is able to collect 20 points per second, so that you have a very, very high resolution data set of your perpendicularity measurements. And again, you can see from the screen, very, very simple, easy to use interface for perpendicularity and 2D measurements. Speaking of that interface, when we're looking at the 2D function, you can see that we can create almost any sort of program that we need. There are built-in functions for a 0 points, alignments, bolt circles, angles, distances, cross points, lines, and several other functions. So there are pre-built widgets into the 817 CLT that will allow you to very, very quickly set up a measuring program for a 2D part. The parts that you measure will be shown in real time on the measuring display, as you can see from the screen grabs on the presentation. And then that information can be seamlessly exported in either in a graphic and PDF format to either a PDF file or a text format. It should be noted that the text format It should be noted that the text format will not list graphical representations. It will only show the raw measuring values. That is a limitation of the text format, and that is not something that can be changed. In addition to these features, we have several new customer demanded features that we've based off of feedback from the old 817 CLM. For example, the new 817 CLT has a much more improved clutch design. So it has a longer, the clutch is going to be much more repeatable. It slips less. It exceedingly has a much longer lifespan than the clutch in the old 817 CLM. So you'll get a longer running life out of the actual gauge itself. One of the great things about the new 817 CLT is that it is up to be calibrated and adjusted by the customer. So you no longer need to have a piece of software or a computer or a specific measuring artifact to calibrate the 817 CLT. The customer can set their own calibration points, and they can pass this information, and they can very easily and cheaply calibrate the 817 CLT in-house without having to either purchase additional accessories to calibrate it or send the gauge out for calibration. Again, you also have a fully integrated online help menu. However, another great feature is going to be the lightweight aluminum frame compared to the old cast iron frame. It significantly lightens up the 817 CLT, making it easier to use and handle. Battery life of the 817 CLT has been extended to 14 hours. That's enough to cover 2 shifts, which is really, really ideal. It allows the gauge to be used for 2 shifts and then charged overnight. So it really lends itself for serial production in that aspect. Finally, to wrap up the presentation, I would like to mention that both the 817 CLT and the Millimess 2000-2001 will be shown at our booth, at Mahr's booth at IMPS. Please come visit us. I will gladly show off the gauges. You can play them, use them, see how good they are in real life. We're going to be at booth 13-580-10 in the East Building on the 3rd level. Again, these gauges will be there and present. You'll be able to see them and use them in action. Just look out for the big old Mahr logo, I should say, and you'll be able to come check out the gauges and all the other offerings that Mahr has. This brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm now going to open up the chat, unmute you all, so if anybody has some questions, please feel free to ask them. All right, if there are no questions, that concludes today's presentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention. We hope to see you at IMPS. I hope you'll have a great week and an even better weekend. Thank you very much. Have an excellent day.